Are you interested in working with your spirit guides? Do you work with your spirit guides? Do you get in touch with your higher self at all? Have you ever tried or made contact telepathically, psychically, spiritually with ethereal beings, some sort of support, some sort of guidance, some sort of external knowledge? I'm making a quick video about it. I haven't talked too much about spiritual concepts on this channel, but I dedicated several years of my life to my own personal spiritual exploration of just what's out there, what is consciousness, and that's a whole separate video. But I wanted to make this one specifically about spirit guides because when I'm hanging out on the internet, scrolling TikTok, scrolling through Instagram, checking out YouTube videos, I see a lot of people that are either sharing messages from your spirit guides, their spirit guides. I hear so many people when they share spiritual videos, whether it's like a tarot reading or an oracle reading or just a channeled message, that they are sharing messages from your ancestors, from your spirit guides, from your angels. And I have an interesting relationship with that, so I'm going to keep this short. If you would love a video with me going in depth on any of this, please just let me know. I'll probably make it. But I used to communicate daily with spirit guides. And for me, at first they were rather ambiguous looking. Now when I say looking, the way that I could perceive them was almost like like how you see a daydream. So it wasn't like a physical, tangible thing that I could touch, but I could see clearly enough, kind of with, I don't know if you want to call it your third eye, whatever you want to call it, like you would a daydream when you're just awake and you're just visualizing things. I would see things like on that level of sight. And when I would hear things or they would communicate with me, it was coming through telepathically, like downloads. So I would just understand what they meant. And if I needed to or wanted to translate or, share a message, then I would have to break it down and be very careful with the way I worded things because it was always very specific. If I used a different word than the one originally intended, I would be corrected and I would make that correction. So this started being like a full-time thing for me, I want to say like right at the start of 2020. So about 3 years ago, well, 3.5 years ago. And I don't communicate with spirit guides anymore. So like this is me sharing my story of why that happened, why I don't think it's a negative thing, and why I don't think it's negative to talk to them either. But I just kind of want to share what I've learned because I like to do that because it might help you on your journey. So I also want to clarify that at first when I started communicating with them, they were kind of like these ambiguous things that I would see. It was almost like they were wearing costumes just to make me feel kind of comfortable about their physical appearance. Now, eventually that changed because I believe that about 6 months prior to maybe even a year prior to 2020, the start of 2020, this is when I was seeing them this way, and it was mostly in guided meditations with a group that I was gathering with, a very small group, and I would see them in this very vague way. Well, then at the start of 2020, it was just like one day I woke up and I started seeing them as these alien beings that look very similar to the Arcturians if you look at them online, and so I think so. Yes, I had to make sure I was using the right word. It's been a little bit. And at the time I had like this whole ego attachment around star seeds and that this is like my soul family, and it gave me a sense of belonging that I had this communication with these beings. I was very uncomfortable with life on Earth and trying to figure out who I was and how I fit into everything and finding my place, and I was very uncomfortable in life. I was still doing like well, and it looked like I was doing well for myself, but on the inside I was not comfortable. So where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that, let's see, at the end of last year, yeah, or around this time last year maybe, actually, so like late summer of 2022, I kind of ceased talking to spirit guides at all. I did not stop receiving that higher knowledge, that higher wisdom, that like channeled flow of energy. Because what I discovered in my personal journey was that I never truly needed those extra beings, those extra, meaning like outside of myself was the perception, extraterrestrial and extra dimensional, whatever you want to call them, because some people see them as angels. We see our spirit guides very differently and we perceive them very differently. But long story short, I didn't actually need them. What I discovered during some very powerful personal healing meditations was I had been connecting with my higher self. And so I had started to perceive and visualize her. And when I would visualize her, I always had my spirit guides with me, or my team, whatever you want to call them, with me, because I didn't really know my higher self, which is so silly to say out loud, but this is how I felt, so that I really didn't know and I didn't trust her. Maybe you'll see where I'm going with this. If you watch my channel, you might know where I'm going with this. So as I started to work more and more with her, eventually I came to realize that my spirit guides weren't actually real. They were more of just a projection, and that it was my higher self the whole time. But that because of my trust issues and my wounding with myself, I would have never listened to all of this guidance. But that this inner guidance was really coming from me the whole time. I simply wouldn't have listened because of my trust issues with myself. And so as I worked on healing myself and building that trust and love within myself, I didn't need them anymore. And it was revealed to me that they were always just something to mentally make me feel more comfortable listening to myself. So if you find yourself wanting to ask yourself these questions, I don't know, I think it's really important that you have the trust built with yourself. Like, you can't just kind of like rip the spirit guides away and be like, aha, it was me the whole time, due to the nature of not having that self-trust. But if you would like to work towards that, this is kind of, this is what this video is about, is maybe because I can see some people get really stuck in this comfort of handing their power away to these other beings. And often, that can go into a whole tangent of people feeling desperate to connect with other beings because, oh my gosh, like they just know so much more. And it's like, no, you need to recognize that you are a special individual and soul. And just because you're having a human experience and you feel that that means maybe something negative or sets you below something else or some other form of life or existence or energy, like that is your belief system and is not necessarily true. Your soul is much more than this 3D avatar right now. And I highly encourage you to work on healing yourself. Yeah, healing yourself, your wounding, your trust, your love of yourself, and all of these things will move with you. You don't need to worry about what it looks like. It doesn't need to look like my journey at all. It shouldn't, probably. But if the idea of losing contact or not having contact any longer with spirit guides or angels makes you feel like you've lost something, makes you feel alone, makes you feel like you've lost that ability to have a higher knowledge, or feeling alone, then that is your sign that you would benefit greatly from doing that inner work on yourself. Because this is just my experience. So I don't claim to know anything. These are my experiences, and all I do is kind of get these theories that, oh my gosh, I'm not going to start on them because it would be It'd be such a long video, and like I have been out in the sun all day and my brain is like getting a little sleepy, so I'm gonna wrap this one up. But if you want to hear more, just let me know. I'd be happy to share with you. If you want a video or you just want it in the comments, just let me know. But I wanted to make this video because I was pondering it recently. I just see so much on the internet. People are like, your guides have a message for you. And I'm like, it's you. You have a message for you. We're picking up on each other's energetic fields. And we're also part of a collective consciousness. So you're probably interacting with, even if that just means watching people's videos, that's still an interaction, even if it's not like them interacting back with you. That is you being in alignment with someone else. We're all a part of this big consciousness that has broken itself, maybe not broken, that's probably not the right word to use, filtered itself into these individual strands and individual experiences. And that's just my understanding. It's kind of hard to really have a good grip on what that looks like when you're living in a human body. I know I see like a lot of crazy things. Well, not crazy things, but who knows? Who knows? It's all being filtered through our brains as well, because then that sends me on like a whole tangent of like, what is real? Our brains are like so capable of creating so much for us that there's a chance that, and I don't know how to phrase this correctly or the best way that I can or the way that I would like to, but like, you know, like when you have like you have a vision of maybe a deceased relative or a deceased loved one and they come and they bring you a message. Are you really interacting with the energy of that soul? Or is your brain convincing you that you are because it knows that that's how it's going to get you to do the thing? And then does that make it any less real? So that's the kind of like rabbit hole I've been going down just with reality, and it's honestly brought me a lot of peace. That might like really shake you and be like, oh my god, like if none of this is real, then who's to say? You're still experiencing it. Your experience is so valid and important, and just because maybe your brain concocted it, knowing that it would be the thing to get you to do what your subconscious intelligence really wants you to do, and it's like, this is how we're going to get our conscious body to actually, you know, take this path or take this step or take this action or have this realization. What's so wrong with that? What's so wrong with that? But yeah, I've been pondering that lately, and I've really taken a step back from like the spiritual community, really to just commune with myself more and more in a, I don't know how to say this, like earthly way, because I've explored so much like out there, but I really want to bring things in a grounded way into this 3D experience. And so I've been really focusing on staying present with myself and just really integrating with myself. I think that that's been it. It's not that I can't still access these other things, but like my focus has shifted greatly. But yeah, so I don't really talk about these things that much on this channel, but every now and then I get the like little idea to bring a little bit of woo-woo into it. But yeah, that is my current thought process on spirit guides, and just, you know, I've been seeing it all over the place. And so if anything, the takeaway is that every time you hear those messages that your angels have a message for you or your spirit guides have a message for you, it's you in one shape or another that has a message for you. There's nothing outside of ourselves. There is no such thing as separation. Even if it's another energetic form, it's still you. And I hope that that promotes the desire to further love yourself, accept yourself, trust yourself, heal yourself, integrate yourself. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there. Keep this one a little bit shorter. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you don't know what to say, just drop an emoji. And I hope that you're enjoying your summer or whatever time of the year it is when this finds you.